What is up, ladies and gentlemen? Welcome back. Game number 2 between MorroW and DeMusliM. This time we're on Tal Darum Altar. We can see right now DeMusliM spawning in the upper left position of the map, and in the upper right, we do have MorroW as the red Zerg. So yes, this is game number 2. It is a best of 3 series. We did see DeMusliM win last game with just some very effective harassment, and continuously harassing your Zerg opponent is something you should definitely become familiar with and comfortable with as a Terran player. If you play Terran, whether you're a random player or it's your primary race, you should really become comfortable with continuous harassment against a Zerg opponent, because if you leave that Zerg opponent alone and you just let them macro up and keep map control and just do whatever they will against you, chances are you're going to have a very difficult time. But we've been seeing a lot of harassive playstyle from Terran players, particularly Marine dropping, so very effective. We saw MMA do it in the last MLG. He was the winner of the last MLG and beating out a Zerg opponent, and it just proved to be so effective, just continuously dropping Marines, stimming up and hitting that economy, sniping down high-tech buildings as well, sniping down spawning pools, Baneling nest spires, things that are real threatening to you. And yeah, very effective. So yes, do what you can to be constantly harassing your Zerg opponent, and it'll prove to be quite well. But again, this is another game, so we do not know how it will play out. MorroW could very well have a couple more tricks up his sleeve, as I expect him to. MorroW is a good player, so I'm looking forward to this matchup. I like this map as well. Something to note as well, we can see MorroW going right now with that quick expansion, something you will see most, if not many players do on this map, just given its sheer size. The map is so large that any quick expand econ focus build a lot of times will work very well if you can just defend against that early game. And it's so easy on a large map with proper scouting to defend early game pushes, because you have ample time to scout it, see it coming, and prepare for it. That unless you use to build order poker, then you're going to be doing very well with a quick expand build once you get it up and saturated and get to the point where you can take advantage of that economic advantage from a quick expansion. So let's get right into this particular game, though. We can see DeMusliM does have his first Marine, second Marine coming out as well. We can see a wall off being placed down here with these supply depots. We'll be interested to see, as I just mentioned, if DeMusliM himself decides to go for a quick expand build as well. We can see, again, one Marine out, second Marine coming on through, and let's take a look back over here. MorroW, of course, going for that quick expand build. Then is the spawning pool getting dropped down, and of course that extractor should be sometime around this point in the game as well, unless he's going, there we go, finally dropping with the extractor. The only exception to that would be if he was going super mineral heavy for a lot of early game droning and just defending with spine crawlers and unupgraded Zerglings, also known as the Spinishiwa build. Back over here, DeMusliM, there we go. There's that expansion, so a 1-rax expand again from DeMusliM, following it up with a reactor, and of course at this point we will be expecting him to get a factory, because this is almost the exact same build that we saw him go for last game, following this up with a factory, allowing him to go those double Hellions early game, push out with a ton of Hellions and do a bit of damage. Might be a little more difficult for him to do it as effective as he did last game. Between the main and the natural, it's much easier to defend both of them, so dropping in one position, hoping to catch units out of position won't be quite as effective. If he tries to drop here right up in the main, it will be pretty quick for MorroW's reinforcements from that natural to move up and respond to that. Back over here, we can see grabbing the Zelnaga Tower. Up until the Hellions are in play, of course, MorroW will be able to get map control with these Zerglings against the small forces of Marines. DeMuslim's expansion coming on through. Factory is finished, so after this double batch of Marines, I would expect that hot swap. And let's see if he decides to follow up with a starport, and if he's going to be going with the drop as well, and I'm expecting that. There we go, starport being placed down. So once that gets up, I probably will expect a medevac followed by Viking for some Overlord sniping, but the medevac, of course, used to drop, and essentially looks like DeMusliM will be doing almost the exact same thing that he did last game. At least the build is alluding to such at this point. MorroW finally moving down with this queen. We'll be connecting the two bases with that creep tumor, then moving off to try to kill the SCV scout inside the main. We can see, of course, DeMusliM, there we go, finally gets dropped by those drones. DeMusliM was able to scout out the fact that the metabolic boost was coming. He also saw the extractor up, so he knows, again, no Spinishiwa style build today. Zergling scouting out front the main, so he will see when those Hellions do push out, that Zergling should be able to catch wind of that. And actually, there we go, pulling up into a good position. My only concern is if the Hellions were to actually squeeze right along this corner, but he does have that Zelnaga, so he would see that regardless. Also spotting over here, just in case DeMusliM were for some reason to go for some crazy fast third. Not very common, not very expected, but it is possible, so you always want to check for that. Here is that medevac as expected, so yes, DeMusliM will be going for that same style build. And let's see what MorroW's intentions are. A couple of spine crawlers coming out to defend against these early game Hellions, and here they come across the map, the first 4. We've got 2 more coming on through, and there's another one here in play as well. So these Hellions grabbing the Xel'Naga, killing off that Zergling. The one big thing that DeMusliM wants to do in any given push like this, any early game aggression, you always want to try to make sure you have control, or at least your opponent doesn't have those Xel'Nagas, so they cannot see the push coming and they don't know the exact numbers. If your opponent knows the exact numbers of what you're coming with and how much and how many, then it's much easier for them to defend. So here we go again. We are going to see DeMusliM drop right here in the main. That's pretty much what I expect right now. Now we'll see if what I mentioned earlier comes into play. I really feel like even though the spine crawler is out of place, it's so much easier for MorroW to defend his main. But here comes the push right now. Hellions pushing on it down. We'll be trying to kill that queen, and yes, they will. The queen doesn't stand a chance, trying to retreat, but Hellions blocking that retreat off. Will he drop the Marines and then protect him with the Hellions of the low ground? Yes, he is. He is going to be doing that now. Realize, of course, DeMusliM nowhere near, given the fact that he went very fast for that starport, very fast for this medevac. He does not have Stimpak. He will not have Stimpak for quite a while. So those Marines really do need these Hellions to defend them against Zerglings, and especially Banelings. We can see MorroW sitting over here at Banelings, trying to push on in. Will he get up to the Marines? Needs to be very careful about his positioning. Marines getting lifted up. Banelings rolling right into the Hellions, and the Zerglings killing off all but 2 of those Hellions. Marines pushing on back over here. We can see actually the medevac very dangerously low from that queen fire. Hellions finally able, with some reinforcements, to kill off the Banelings that were continuing to pursue them. Now, again, we really haven't seen that much damage. Let's take a quick look here at the unit loss tab. We can see, yes, MorroW has lost more overall. A large portion of that will be those Zerglings and Banelings during that engagement. But still, this isn't as bad because he hasn't taken any economic losses yet. And if you haven't taken any economic losses yet, you're still doing okay. Scanning going down, dropping the creep timbers, pushing forward, trying to take care of the Banelings that were attempting to morph in, and actually catching the spine crawlers out of position. So we'll take the advantage of this time to snipe off and do a bit of damage. We'll actually kill off that one spine crawler. Wants to micro back a little bit. We do have some Hellions finally there in the drone line. This is what they need to do. He really needs to focus down, try to do some economic damage, but no, that was stopped quite quickly. Banelings stopping the rest of that Marine, and oh, there we go. Medevac getting sniped down by that queen, hero queen. How many kills? Just the one. That is all he needs, though. That medevac was a solid kill. So there you go. As you can see, as mentioned, DeMusliM did not do nearly as much economic damage as we saw him do in the first game, and as such, MorroW not in as bad of a spot. We can take a look here overall, especially after losing that medevac and all of those Marines and Hellions. DeMusliM is in fact behind right now, so that engagement proved to be not as beneficial as he may have hoped. Now, we'll be interested to see if we see DeMusliM decide to come up with his expansion right now, or if he's going to just stick on these 2 bases and go for some really big, strong, aggressive push. The big concern, of course, right now is a counterattack. That is something he has to be wary of. We do have a ton of Zerglings on the map, finally sitting with some mutas here in play as well. Lots of great upgrades coming. We do have the level 1 upgrade for those flyers, also the centrifugal hooks coming out. The carp is coming out as well for the overlords, and the melee level 1 attack. So a ton of upgrades coming out for MorroW. Very nice work on his macro while defending against everything that was taking place, all that harassment. Very easy, especially for typical players to lose track of what they've got going on. But of course, DeMusliM is not just a typical player. He is a professional player. That's pretty much all I do commentary on. Pushing again across the map, so DeMusliM will be trying to continue up this aggression. The same theme, trying to keep that pacing in his favor. But again, the concern is that after that first engagement, he wasn't necessarily in the best of positions. So he really wants to make sure that he can get himself in a strong position so he can carry forward in this game in a better spot than he currently is. Dropping some scans down, dropping the creep tumors. Also, we can see right now, scanning the high ground, checking that unit composition up here. He wants to know what he's going to be up against once he does push. We can see waiting at the moment, still no Stimpak. That will be out in just a few moments. And here we go, pushing forward with those mutas, trying to snipe down a few of those Hellions. This doesn't look like it's quite enough at this point for DeMusliM to actually push in. A couple overlords moving across the map. We'll be scouting out expansions. Very nice. I love seeing this for MorroW, especially since he hasn't seen any Vikings in play yet. I'm pretty positive there are no Vikings. Yes, there have been no Vikings coming into play yet, so if that's not the case, especially once your overlords get the speed, move them straight across the map, get as much vision as you can, spot all those expansions, and of course, drop some of that creep on the ground. Here comes the push right now. Hellions leading the way. We have a couple of Speedlings and Banelings getting ready to engage against us, and DeMusliM definitely needs to be careful, especially since he doesn't have any siege tanks. All he's relying on those Hellions and the Stim Marines pulling back away from the Banelings. Some siege tanks would be very nice, but this push coming way before that time. Banelings mopping up so many of the Marines, allowing those Mutas to then engage the rest of the forces, and DeMusliM just calling the GG. DeMusliM opened up this game with the same style push that we saw him do in the first game, moving out with a bunch of Hellions, some unupgraded Marines, and a medevac. Now, afraid to engage with this block off from that evolution chamber, plus these 2 spine crawlers, he actually decided to move down here and try to harass the lower part of the expansion of MorroW. After doing a little bit of damage down here, we did see DeMusliM move back up to the front of the main. However, this time, MorroW was fully ready. We're going to see him transplant the spine crawl over here and engage with these Banelings. And Banelings incorporated in the mix, plus the Queens sniping down that medevac, was a huge, huge gain for MorroW. And this defense is really what saved him this game. Afraid of a counterattack and realizing his initial push hadn't done as much damage as he may have hoped, we did see DeMusliM move out around the 12-minute mark. Again, since MorroW had taken pretty much any economic damage during that initial push of DeMusliM, he was more than prepared with Speedlings, Banelings, and Mutas. We're going to see him move up with those Banelings with those centrifugal hooks, making them much faster than they normally are, able to roll right into the Marines, and then the Mutas were able to mop up everything else, and that is what forced the GG. So there you go, guys. Thank you so much for watching. Hopefully you enjoyed the video. As always, if you like the content, please subscribe to the channel. Thanks again for watching, guys, and as always, keep watching and keep owning.